asked me how to do the homework problem number 4 from section 3.1. Here we have a quadratic function and we want to find the vertex, the x-intercepts, and the y-intercept. And so we went over how to find the vertex in class, but we didn't really talk about the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. So I'm going to go over that right now. So, alright, so again, we have a quadratic function. We want to find the vertex, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. So, alright, so how do we do this? Well, first, we're going to recognize that the graph of f is the set of xy coordinates that satisfy this equation. Now, to find the vertex, we're going to use this equation. This equation gives us the x coordinate. Now in our case, we need to find b and a. In our case, here b is -1. So negative b will be negative of -1. And a is going to be 1. So the x coordinate of the vertex, it turns out, is going to be 1/2. Now to find the y coordinate, we're going to use this equation here. So this is telling us that for all points on the graph, the y coordinate is always equal to the x coordinate squared minus the x coordinate again, minus 30. We know that the vertex has an x coordinate of 1/2, and now we need to find the y coordinate associated with that x coordinate. And so what we're going to do is we're going to replace these x's with 1/2, and that'll allow us to find the corresponding y coordinate. Alright, so we do that. Let's see, 1/2 squared, that becomes 1/4. Alright, so it looks like this. Now 1/4 minus 1/2, 1/4 is smaller, so actually this is going to be negative, and this will be negative 1/4 minus 30. And so this becomes negative 30 and 1/4, or negative 30.25. Alright, so this is the vertex. This here is the x coordinate, 1/2, and this here is the y coordinate, negative 30.25. We can take that and check that in WebWork if we want. And yeah, that's correct. We still have to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So how do we do that? Well, for the x-intercepts, we recognize that what we're really trying to do is trying to find points on the x-axis. Technically, it's where the graph crosses the x-axis, but those are points on the x-axis. And we recognize that all points on the x-axis have one thing in common. They have that their y-coordinate is 0. Alright, so here we're going to let y be 0, and what we're trying to do, or what we need to do, is we need to find the corresponding x-coordinate. Now we know that all points on the graph satisfy this equation. Right? So again, we let y be 0, and we're trying to find the corresponding x. Right, so if y is 0, this equation becomes this, and we need to figure out which values of x satisfy this equation. In other words, we're trying to solve this equation for x. Now at this point, after we let y be 0, we end up with this, and this right side, it looks like it can be factorable. It looks like it can be factored, and it is. It turns out you can write this as x plus 5 times x minus 6. That's how you factor this, right? You want to find two numbers whose product is 30, whose sum is -1. Now here you have a product that's equal to 0, and what this means is either the first factor, x plus 5, is 0, or the second factor, x minus 6, is 0, and this is equivalent to saying that x is -5 or x is 6. Alright, and so there we go. So we see that if y is 0, then x is either -5 or 6. These numbers down here, those are the x-intercepts of our graph. So the x-intercepts, -5 and 6. So we have the vertex, we have the x-intercept, now we need to find the y-intercept. There's only one y-intercept, because this is a function. A function cannot have two y-intercepts. And we're going to do it the same way we found the x-intercept. So the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, but if you think about the y-axis, any point on the y-axis has an x-coordinate of 0. So here we're going to let x be 0. And we're going to use this equation again because we know that all points on the graph satisfy that equation. Letting x be 0, we get that y is equal to 0 squared minus 0 minus 30, which indicates that y is negative 30. Alright, and okay, and so that's it. So our y-intercept will be the point 0, 30, if we write it as a point. Over here, this tells us that our x-intercepts are negative 5, 0, and 6, 0. Alright, so that info here, this is negative 30. We can take this, plug it in, and see if WebWork will mark it right. Excuse me. And it does. So that's it.